Hello, this is Colin from MississaugaGuitarLesson.com. Today I'm going to be going over If I Be Wrong by Larsen. There are several different sections to the song that are all essentially variations on a very similar theme, following a very similar finger-picking pattern. I'll break down the first one very thoroughly and then kind of skim through the idea of the rest. The tablature will be included below, and it's probably best if you follow along with that if you're going through the complete song. I'll start off with the first part that we're hearing that happens right in the intro and comes back every time it crescendos to a chorus. The song has a capo on the 3rd fret and will be done exclusively with finger picking. There's a very similar pattern that runs through the majority of the song, which essentially has a back and forth between the thumb and the index finger. To start off, we can just practice this pattern by just getting the thumb to play the open 5th string and then the index finger to play the open 2nd string, and then just trying to get a back and forth motion between those, going thumb, index, thumb, index. So while going back and forth between those two notes, the thumb is just going to move to various low strings. So we're going to start off with the 5th string, and then the 4th string, and then the 3rd string. We do that one 3 times, and then go back to the 4th. So we're going 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. The song is in a 6/8 time signature, so while we're trying to go through that pattern, we're staying consistent on 16th notes there, but trying to feel the count being in 6. So we get this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and trying to just feel that continuing, staying steady on the picking. Then applying that to chords, we're just going to go through a couple fairly basic open chords. We're going to start off with a C chord and employ that picking pattern with it. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we're going to be going to an E minor chord. We're going to do essentially the same picking pattern there, but the E minor starts with a 6th string root, so we hit the 6th string first and then go through the rest of the finger picking pattern the same way. So we're going from 6, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. And actually when we go to that last 4th string note, we're just going to take our chord off to make a transition, and you end up with the open on that one. So going all the way through E minor, I got 6, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. From there, I'm going to transition into a G chord. I only really need this note and this note from the G, but you can hold as much of the G as you want as long as we're on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for the high note, and then going through the same picking pattern as the E minor, starting with the 6th string. So you're going 6, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4. So putting those 3 together, we're going to go through the C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, E minor, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Coming up next, we're going to go to a D chord or a D5. We just need these two notes from it. This chord's going to come up a couple times in the song. They seem to always do it slightly differently every time it comes up. It might be slightly an improv thing, or maybe they have a plan in mind, not sure. The first time we hear it come up, this is what we do with it. What we're going to start off with is on the third string, the note that's usually in our D. We're going to keep that off, so we have that open, and then we just hammer our finger onto where that note belongs into the D chord. So you're just going hammer, and then we do a back and forth finger picking, third string, second string, third string, second string. So here, hammer, and then we do kind of a backwards variation on that where we do a pull off on the third string to open, and then we do the same two picks. So trying to put that together, you got hammer, pull off. So now putting together the four chords, we've got C, E, G, hammer, pull off. And then we just start the pattern again. So as I mentioned, that's the essential pattern of the song, and then we just have variations on that theme that change as the song continues to evolve. The first thing that we'll notice as we're going through that intro and chorus is that there's what's called a first and second ending. So the first time that we're playing it through, we play through the four chords as we're going through it. When we come around to that D, we go through it the way that we were discussing. Then we repeat back to the beginning. The second time around, though, when we come around to the D, we're going to do it a little bit differently. For the second D, the way I'm hearing it on the recording, I think they're doing something a little bit different with the picking pattern. This is a little bit arbitrary, though. If you're comfortable with the other picking pattern or any picking pattern on a D, will probably suffice for this, but I hear them doing a slight variation where they do the hammer, and then they pick through it 4 times, and then they take off the index to do the open third string. So you got, and then that's the pattern that they're using for the second ending. And then again, any pattern will do, but what is important is that in the second ending, we're going to repeat over that D chord for 2 extra bars. So we're just going to do that pattern 1, 2, 3 times. And then we just go to just that second fret on the third string, and then we end it there, give it a little bit of a pause to wait for the next section to come up. So to go through that entire section, alternating the endings, I'm starting with C, E minor, G, D, then I repeat, second ending, D, and then it ends there. Moving into the first verse, there's another variation on this theme. Essentially, this is going to go through the C the way we were doing before, to the E the way we're doing before, but then after that, it doesn't use the G like what happened before. It's going to go directly to the D chord. Now, once again, I do hear them changing the finger picking pattern on the D, but any variation on D is probably fine as long as we get the count right on it. And for this D, what I'm hearing, they're going through the 4th string and then right to the 3rd string, and then just carrying that out for the remainder of the bar, the remainder of the 6 beats. No hammer-ons or anything in this one, so I'm just going 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, or just feeling that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that D chord. So they're going to continue going through bars on that D chord, but in this particular verse, what ends up happening is they just keep playing that same pattern, just like quieter and quieter and quieter, to the point where you can barely even hear it by the end, and all you kind of almost hear is them playing like one or two notes from it. So however you want to produce that effect is great, but just trying to feel, essentially it's 4 bars going through that just keep getting progressively quieter. So we're going 1, and if you can see by the end there, I'm not even really doing the full pattern. I'm just trying to like really quietly play a couple notes from it to end it off. And that's how we hear that coming in with the song, is that it just quiets down and then builds back up for the next part. In the first verse, that pattern is just going to repeat itself, and then you're going to go over to a chorus. As you progress through the song, different verses eventually do start to incorporate some different chord patterns, all variations on the same idea, but slight differences as you go through the different verses. Again, if we do follow through the tab sheet, it's helpful for seeing when the different parts come through, but just to show you, in the second verse, after we done the pattern that we just did in the first verse, they bring in a pattern that just goes from a C to a G to a D to C to a G, and repeats the G. So I'll quickly follow through and sum up the other parts of the song, but again, the more that you can make sense of the tab sheet and just follow through it, even trying to listen through the song, see how the different parts vary as it goes through, see if you can associate that with how the singing matches up with the chord changes. I think that's the best way of making sense of this. But just to talk about it real quick, we do start off with the intro, which will eventually be the chorus, where we have the C, the E minor, the G, and then the alternate endings on the D. So the first D we do the 1 bar of, the second D we do the 3 bars of, with a pause. The first verse starts to introduce the motif where we do the C to the E minor directly to the D that repeats itself for 4 bars that get quieter and quieter, gradually trailing off. This first verse does a direct repeat of that idea, then moves into the first chorus, which is the same idea as the intro, just there is kind of a catchy string line that goes along with it that keeps coming back throughout the song. The second verse starts off the same way that the first verse did. We do the C, the E minor, the D with the 4-bar trail off, but then instead of repeating itself, it goes to the second section where we introduce the C, G, D, C, G, G version of the verse, and then that leads itself to another chorus. The choruses seem to be pretty universal, doing the same thing with the C, E, G, D with the alternate endings, first one once, second time 3 times with the pause. The third verse starts with the normal variation where we have the C to the E minor to the D with the trail off, but instead of repeating itself like the first verse does, it just does it 1 time through and then goes back to a chorus, which is again the same the choruses have been throughout. The fourth verse is the same as the second verse was, where we start off with the C, E minor, D trail off before moving to the C, G, D, C, G, G version of the pattern. The next thing that happens is a bridge. We're going to start off by applying the pattern to an A minor chord, so that's a different chord that we haven't used yet, but it's the exact same pattern with the finger picking on that chord. Then we go to the C, then we go to the G. There are also the alternate endings going on with this bridge. So the first 2 times we play through the pattern is A minor, C, G, G. And then on the 3rd round, we do the A minor to the C. Then we substitute a D chord instead of the G. And then we repeat around for 1 more with the A minor, the C, the G, and the G again. Then we go directly to a normal chorus that goes through the C, E minor, G, D pattern, alternating the endings, doing the D once and then doing the D 3 times with a pause. The fifth verse is the same as the third verse, and then it's just going to do one playthrough on the C, E minor, D with the trail off version of the pattern without repeating itself, and then it'll go to a normal chorus after that. The sixth verse is a little bit of a weird one, where we just keep moving through this chord sequence. Again, it's just going through similar chords that we've seen already, and always the same finger picking style, but if you just read through it, you got the C to the E minor to the D, with the 4 times with the trail off, eventually moving down to the C, G, D, C, A minor, C, G, D, A minor, C, G, D. There's this weird one on that particular D where the D goes for 1.5 bars. So they throw in an extra half bar of 3/8 time that does somehow fit with the vocal pattern. Really give that one a listen. If you're playing with the music, you'll probably just hear the flow on it. It's kind of a weird one mathematically, but it does make sense with the melody of the song. But then once we get past that half bar of D, we go down for our last line with the C, the G, the D, the C, and the G. It does a gradual slow down on the timing on the final C and G, landing in for one more strum on the G chord that finishes the song. If you enjoyed this video, please like or subscribe or leave a comment below. If you'd be interested in taking lessons with me, I am available for one-on-one online lessons over a Zoom call. You can get in touch with me by visiting my website listed in the description below. Take care.